topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
Welcome. It's Arti with Light Up Your Life, and I am so excited for our conversation today. Health in Our Hands, a conversation about whole food-based lifestyle and a whole food-based way of living. And I have the humble honor of introducing Dr. Campbell, who I actually got to interview separately last week. And I also get to introduce Dr. Sharma, who I have interviewed previously on a different podcast. So today is a wonderful conversation with two amazing men who are pioneers in the area of plant-based nutrition and a lifestyle. They have really encouraged those who embrace this lifestyle to not call it a diet, but really to look at the longevity of how it can increase our life force, our health, and everything that exists in making ourselves as humans be powerful individuals and community members. Dr. Campbell has written many books and co-authored the China Study, one of the longest history study research that has been shown in the area of animal protein and how dangerous it can be, and has examined that throughout his career. Dr. Campbell is the founder of the Nutritional Studies and has longevity in working with Cornell University in the nutritional biochemistry program, and has a family that is deeply entrenched into this work as well. Dr. Sharma, who is actually with us live from India, has the chairman and the founder of what is known as the Reiki Healing Foundation. And Dr. Sharma has done exorbitant amount of work in cancer research and has worked and had previously run an institution with cancer and has healed numerous amounts of patients. Dr. Sharma has also written books known as Milk the Silent Killer and a book about grains and the role that grains can play in our lives. Both of them have done extensive amounts of research, and I am really excited to have them on today to have a topic that is dear to all of our hearts. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's start with you, Dr. Campbell. Can you share with our audience your journey into getting into this beautiful work of coming to the whole base lifestyle in plant nutrition?
Well, I have to make a quick statement about my personal background.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I started out, I was raised on a farm milking cows. Then I went to graduate school at Cornell University and did my doctoral dissertation on promoting the consumption of more animal protein. Of course, milk is a good source of animal protein, and meat and eggs, as we know. So I was very much into the world of consuming more animal foods, primarily for the animal protein. Then I was involved in my first faculty position at another university. I was the coordinator of a program in the Philippines, feeding malnourished children. And at that time, the main message for that purpose was to make sure these children got enough protein. However, I saw something that was rather odd. The few children getting the most protein seemed to be at higher risk for liver cancer. At the same time, there was a study from India, by the way, Hyderabad Institute of Nutrition, that showed that in experimental animal studies that animal protein promotes the development of liver cancer. So those two ideas, first an impression with the children, secondly with experimental animal studies, it looked like animal protein caused cancer, or at least it promoted it. So I went back home to my laboratory and I organized a big research program that lasted for, in that case, for 27 years. With lots of students, and I wanted to find out, is it true? Because, you know, nobody believed that. I didn't believe it either, to be honest about it. It turned out it was true. And not only was true, it was spectacularly true. We could turn on cancer development by feeding animal protein. We could turn it off by taking it away. It was very, very dramatic. We also learned something else too over the years, namely that the protein does not act by a single biochemical mechanism. It's a really important point. It does not act by a single biochemical mechanism. It turned out as we searched for the responsible mechanisms to account for that effect, every time we looked, we found one. I had a number of doctoral students who actually spent their entire doctoral careers looking at one mechanism at a time. And so finally, I realized this whole idea that we all assume about nutrition and disease, nutrition and cancer in this case, this assumption, we always assume that specific nutrients do specific things. That's reasonable to assume, but it's not correct. Nutrients don't act by one mechanism, it operates by a whole family of mechanisms, almost infinite sized family. And so these mechanisms, biochemical mechanisms and physiological mechanisms, they're all highly coordinated. It's an amazing, amazing response. And so I published a second book on that idea called Holism. That is to say, and for me, this is a new worldview of nutrition. It is not due to focus on individual nutrients, whether it's protein or anything else for that matter. It's everything working together in a highly coordinated manner. And the idea of this being coordinated, like a symphony, like a great piece of art, like music, the idea that this is the way nutrition works is very exciting because it gets us out of the field of assuming that we need a drug, to treat a certain disease, to treat a certain mechanism. So it goes away from that idea. Instead, when you eat food, we're eating all the right nutrients at the same time, if they are plant-based. That's the key. So there's two messages here from my point of view. Number one, do not consume animal protein-based foods. That means animal food, number one. Number two, think about nutrition in the context of everything, all these nutrients working together. Those two very simple ideas. That's what leads to a whole food plant-based. And I'm the one that coined the term plant-based back in the late 1970s. I was on a US government panel at that time with a group of cancer researchers. They didn't know very much about nutrition. And we started to get some applications of researchers wanted to study about nutrition. So they asked me to give them a sort of lesson on nutrition. I did not want to use the word vegetarianism because that's a different idea. The people there, 90% of vegetarians still use dairy. And that's not a good idea. Later, the word vegan came into play. And of course, vegans, they don't use dairy. They don't use any animal foods, as you know. And so both of those, they're good ideas. That's fine. I'm not criticizing that. But their science, unfortunately, is not very good. So I'm not talking about a vegetarian vegan diet. I'm talking about a whole food, everything working together, plant-based, not consuming animal foods. Just that simple idea. And just get as close as possible to that prescription. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And so, the food, once we start doing that, I'm sure, as Dr. Sharma, I'm sure will tell you, and once we start doing that for anyone, then we feel like exercising more. And in contrast, if some people start exercising, that's their main idea, They start exercising, they eat the wrong food. After they start exercising, getting in good shape, they then discover that they want better food and to get even better. I've actually talked with and met a large number of world-class athletes who, you know, won world championships, essentially Olympics and so forth. And they contacted me, and it turns out their performance actually improves. And that's an idea, by the way, that was first shown in 1904, over 100 years ago, at Yale University. There was a book written about this. Then there was another book written in 1907. It was a Yale University professor, but he was ignored. What he showed was that athletes, when they're put on this kind of diet, their performance improves, both in terms of endurance and in terms of strength. So again, it's actually exactly the opposite what we tend to think of in Western medicine. We always think of, you know, we need more animal protein to get strong. Well, you know, we can build extra muscle mass, but that doesn't necessarily mean healthy muscle mass. So this whole story for me comes back to the point of lifestyle. Eat the right food, exercise appropriately, and of course, other things we also know too, like sleep, you know, mindfulness, meditation, you know, all of that kind of thing. All of a sudden, it just, for me, it just comes together. And so I think I like the idea because I came from a scientific point of view as a biochemist, and I came from exactly the opposite, being on the farm. And so because of all of that, I had to put up with a lot of pushback from my colleagues. So I learned a lot about the system. You know, I was in national policy development in the United States extensively. And so I see how policy developed also. By the same token, the people who make government policy, I'm going to be blunt about this, they are corrupted. In many cases, they don't even realize it. They don't know what they don't know. And so our whole society is caught up in this idea of Western medicine, making money, you know, and not actually creating health. Sorry for that long-winded answer, but that's what I found out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Campbell. Dr. Sharma, from your point of view, tell us your journey into this plant-based whole way of living.
Hello, Dr. Campbell. I've already read your book, China Study, and I'm a very strong fan of you. So it's a great opportunity to have you here today with us. So actually, my childhood, I was very much fond of food. So because of this bad eating habits, I became sick and my kidney got actually damaged. So I had a nephritic syndrome. So in that condition, some voice came from inside that the healing should come from within, not from out. So therefore, I did not go for any kind of even herbs or any kind of application. I just went for natural living, meditation, yoga and pranayama and all this kind of fasting and a fruit diet and all these things. So I lived for 3-4 months and I allowed body to heal. So after getting healed, then I realized that my body has a tremendous power to get back to normal condition, and my body has a tremendous regeneration capacity. So after realizing that, I started learning about the natural diet and natural living and naturopathy. So I became a doctor in naturopathy, and then I started my hospital. And you will be surprised that in my 20 years of my practice in my hospital, it was totally fireless kitchen. So fireless kitchen means it was totally vegan, absolutely on vegan, because since I was consuming a lot of milk in my earlier, So I became so much sick, as I told you, even my kidney problem, my sinus, my eczema, and so much problem I have suffered. I never doubted about the milk actually that it is dangerous to the human consumption. So after leaving milk, I realized that how milk is actually creating a problem for the human. Then in my hospital, I started working on this plant-based protein, and I realized that all these animal proteins are really, very much dangerous to the, as Dr. Campbell said, that it is a very cancer generator. And since I was working on cancer, I decided to be on cancer because I wanted to prove the supremacy of natural food and natural healing. So therefore, I started working on cancer, and I was very much successful in that. Actually, it was totally all my diet was based on plant-based, and it was vegan only. So therefore, I had a wonderful results in this area. So then I wrote a book, Milk a Silent Killer, just to guide the people that how it is dangerous. See, just 40 years back I wrote this book, but today, after 40 years, still now I am saying very boldly that milk is the most dangerous food for human consumption, I'm telling you, because every day in every my practice, I find that how it is damaging to the human being. People don't realize this, and they never doubt on the milk. Still in India also, in the name of God, Krishna, and because of so many all our spiritual masters, they also what's called they also recommend to drink milk, because they want to serve cow and they want to serve gaushala. They want to have some gaushala. Gaushala means, you can explain what is gaushala ko kya bolte hain. So in gaushala means where all the cows are brought up actually.
Oh, it's
so
like a cow farm.
Yeah. So we have a lot of respect for the cow, but but our respect is a very different kind, that we want to steal the milk and then we want to respect her. I can't understand this, what kind of respect it is. But anyhow, in India, people are very much after this. So therefore, and one more thing, what I found that in India, around 300 spiritual masters, very renowned spiritual masters, I have found them suffering from the cancer actually, because I have been consulted and I have been treating them. So it was a very great surprise for me that being a spiritual person, meditating every day and chanting so many mantras and devoted to some God energy, how they become cancerous. Because to become cancerous means the body should be very toxic and very harmoniously, chemically should be, there should be a lot of chemical changes. So then I started working more and more on cancer, this milk, and then everything, actually all these things came out, and then I put everything in my book now. So moreover, so when I realized this, then when I got married, then I also, what I did, that when my wife was pregnant, she was given only plant-based, all nuts and seeds only. There was no any animal proteins. And moreover, when I got a child, I have 2 children, so I never fed them any milk in their life, and they were only lived on mother's milk. So what in that condition, what I realized, that they never cried even for single 1 minute, I'm telling you, in the night. Normally in the night, no, kids always cry for some or other problem, but my kids, they never cried. So what I realized, that we are making the kids sick. They are not designed to become sick actually. So we create conditions to become sick. So I did not create conditions to become sick. So therefore, they were sleeping so nicely, and and moreover, after 2 years, they were absolutely on mother's milk and fruits. So because of that, they were so healthy. They never suffered any fever, any cough, any mumps, diphtheria, diarrhea, or anything. They never suffered any disease in their life. So I don't have to vaccinate them even, I'm telling you, because for vaccines, for smallpox or diphtheria or any kind of fever, the body needs certain toxins. So they didn't have any kind of toxin in their body. So because till 2 years, I did not feed them any cereals, grains. They were only on mother's milk and fruit. So they did not get any kind of symptom in their body. So why should I vaccinate? So therefore, my children are now there are almost now 40 years, and you will be surprised to know that they never felt any sickness, no doctors, no medicines, and they have no any kind of disease in their life. So you can just understand the life is so simple, so easy to live. I'm telling you, God has gifted so much greatest power and greatest food and greatest natural factors for us to survive, you know. So this is what every person must realize, that sickness is impossible. Basically, sickness is to be earned. I always say like that. So when I got cured from my kidney problem, then I declared myself, from now onward, I will never become sick again. So I started taking care of my health, and since 40 years, my whole family is living 80% on raw and natural food, whole food, and 20% we eat cooked food, and lesser grain and everything. So now in my 72 years of age, I always declare that disease is impossible word for me, and the tiredness is also a problem for me, because I can work for 18 hours and I don't get tired. This is the problem I'm telling you. So because I have a very less sleep, just 5-6 hours is enough for me. So because so much energy and abundance of energy we have, and even a itching cannot come to me, even a cold cannot come to me without my permission, I'm telling you. So this is what I realized, that body is not designed to become sick. The body always want to function perfectly, efficiently, and it want to die with perfection and maturity. So we are disturbing its process by wrong living and wrong thoughts and everything. So this is what I realized, and then this is what I'm guiding to my people. And then one more thing, what I realized, the grains which you are eating, it is not original human food. Therefore, they must use lesser grain, because if they consume a lot of grains in their diet, even in the veganism, you know, then they have to suffer a lot of stiffness and acidity, and so many different kinds of atherosclerosis, arthritis, high blood pressure, because the problem with the grain is that they actually hardens everything in your body. So because they have a lot of earthy elements inside. So therefore, we must have lesser grain, because raw grain we can never eat. So we have to cook. When we eat cook, then also without any spices and salt, we can't eat just boiled simple one, because it doesn't have any taste. So unnecessary, because of grains, we started gulping down all the salts and oils and ghee, all the butter and all the spices, everything we started taking. And a lot of maximum diseases are created by this kind of spices only. So therefore, if we must consume our grain very less, then only we can survive better. Because if we consume more grain, as in India, we eat lesser fruits and salads, and we eat more grains all the time. So therefore, we are being in veganism, being in vegetarian also, they are suffering from almost all diseases, what human being knows, like cancer, diabetes, blood pressure. See, in spite of having in vegetarian diet, they are taking vegan diet also. Then also they are sick. So what is the use of eating those kind of food when you are sick, becoming sick again? So veganism does not mean that eating all the time cooked food. Veganism means you must have plant-based diet, but more raw and lesser cooked. Because ultimately we have came so far in centuries that we cannot live cooked food now. So have little, what I always suggest. So this is how this is all realized. And one more thing, what I would like to tell you, that see, when I started my journey, I was focusing more on physical things like our diet and exercise and environment and fresh air, sunshine, all these things. But after going more deeper into, I realized that subtle is everything, physical is nothing. Physical is an after effect. So I started working more on the mind and subconscious mind. I realized that mind is the greatest health generator or regenerator or destructor. So if you correct your mind, you know, you can heal anything in your body, I'm telling you, because your mind, your subconscious always obeys your belief system. So I started working more in mind. So nowadays, what I do, when a patient comes to me, I talk more, I first correct his mind, all his belief. I create hope, faith, and enthusiasm in his life. Then he started getting all right, actually. Even in cancer cases, I found that if I can correct the mind, I can heal the patient. This is what I realized. So therefore, we must always focus more on the mind, and second on the nutrition, then third, all these natural factors which we need for survival, you know. So this is what all my experience. Then I entered into this Reiki field, you know, energy field. So I realized that we are empowered with so many different kinds of healing power. So, and Reiki is a direct healing energy which can supply vital force, you know. See, in naturopathy, what we do, we normally do fasting. Why do we do juice fasting or normal fasting, water fasting? Why do we do fasting? Because we want to conserve our energy. But here what happens, you don't have to do fasting at all, because the Reiki immediately supplies the vital force you need. You don't have to conserve your energy. You can supply extra energy to your body. So therefore, when I realized that Reiki is such a wonderful energy medicine, which can be helpful to mankind, then I started my journey with the Reiki Healing Foundation. And now it has already trained 1 million people in all over the world. And we have so many students, and they are almost all those who follow me, they are all vegan normally. And moreover, they are using, instead of medication, they love to do healing by themselves. And if any problem comes, they always heal through Reiki and energy science only. And recently in Corona also, we have consulted more than 8,500 patients of Corona, and they all got healed very well. Nobody had any kind of injury, any kind of what's called negative problems like this. So this is how actually what we are doing with whatever possible we can help the society, you know, through our organization. So. Anything you want to ask more?
Thank you both for that wonderful. You could just tell the passion for both of you definitely behind debunking the myth behind animal protein. It is in both of your books. It's in all the work that you do. And there is an extensive amount of work to be done when we talk about debunking animal protein and the role that it plays in our lives. But thank you both for really introducing this major need for our worlds to know how important it is.
I have a question.
Yes, please, Dr. Campbell.
Question for Dr. Sharma. And Dr.
Yes, doctor. Yes.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
My question is this. What experience, do you have any experience with this diet and let's say the coronavirus problem?
Yeah.
People who eat this way, do they have the serious effects of coronavirus?
No, doctor. What I have experienced, that those who are living with me here in my organization and even in my family, those who are following natural diet and everything, so they did not feel anything about any kind of fever or any kind of symptoms. Only thing what I found, that just because of some fear around, you know, all around the people were fearful. So they were they were having little fear in their mind also. But I always advise that you just take care of your immunity by your right living and right mind and right faith on your body and your nature and your God. So that when we have a very positive feelings about a faith in something, you know, then what happens, our aura energy automatically expands, and it automatically prevents from all the negative sources, and even including viruses also. So see, what I generally tell my people, you know, this, see, we are born with the viruses, and virus, how they are not foolish that they want to attack us. I say that you create soil and you attract them. Actually, they don't want to enter into your body. You invite them by your toxic soil. So this is what actually I always tell them. So therefore I also believe like this. So my family and myself, we remained always what's called free from all these kind of viruses attack. And I really, I'm telling you, I always tell my family that you just put me in a ocean of the viruses, and I will come back easily without any problem. You know why? Because I came to know that our body is designed so uniquely that it don't want, it cannot be disturbed by outer forces. Only which you become weaker in your mind and in your chemistry becomes toxic, then only you are able to get all these things. This is what I realized actually here. So therefore, I'm sorry to say that I don't believe, and I'm not fearful of any viruses in this universe. Let there be virus all around us. Our body has a tremendous capacity to fight and resist them actually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. I'm so glad to have you here. One more thing, Dr. Campbell. RTG, can we have talk about another program next time?
Yes, sure. We can talk about that after the show. Sure, for sure.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, sure.
Okay, I have another question for you too. I really want to get your perspective on calcium. I know in the future of nutrition that Dr. Campbell has recently come up with in December 2020, the latest, there's discussion of calcium. So a big myth and a big issue that I find with my own clients is they're always wondering, well, how do you get your calcium following a plant-based diet? As you know, in the United States, calcium is a big discussion point for as a vital mineral and nutrient. So I would like to get from your perspective, from our audience, what is your take on calcium? How much do we really need? And how do you get it from this plant-based way of living?
Well, I've thought a lot about this question myself. Of course, coming from a dairy farm, obviously we were producing milk, had lots of calcium. We do not need calcium from dairy foods. As a matter of fact, when we compare the amount of calcium consumed in different societies compared to, let's say, bone fracture rate, the higher the calcium consumption, the greater is the bone fracture rate. So in other words, high calcium is a problem. It increases bone fracture rate. And there's also another study I can talk about too, from Yale University, where they showed, comparing different societies, the more animal protein we consume, the more bone fractures. So therefore, calcium in animal protein mostly comes from milk. The higher the consumption of milk, the greater is the bone fracture rate. It's exactly the reverse what the dairy industry says.
Aarti,
Yes.
Dr. Campbell is really very genius in researchers, and he is a very authentic, all proof and everything. But actually, I did not go for any kind of researches in my life because I am not from a medical background. So I always used my common sense, I can say like that. See, I always, I used to ask myself that there are so many creatures all living on this earth. They don't worry about the calcium in their life, and even elephant or a giraffe or so many animals are there. Say, why we are bothering about the calcium? Because our calcium is not at all dependent on any animals, because animals are not producing milk for us actually. And why we are running after animal, how they are related to us. This is what actually my common sense was asking me. And then what I realized, that calcium is not an actual problem. We have adopted in the circumstances so many different kinds of food which are more of acidic to the body, like meat or like animal proteins, all meat, eggs and fish and all cheese and all, even the grains are also, even lot of grains, all the pulses and legumes and even wheat and all these, they produce a lot of acid in the body. And then this all processed and refined food like all this refined flour and refined sugars. So these are the basic culprits that because of processing industry, we lost a lot of minerals and then body has to get imbalanced actually. So all this acidic food, they actually took away all our calcium from our body. So what I realized that on the one side, we damaged all the food and then we are struggling for calcium. So I think the calcium is not at all a problem at all. The problem is that we must stop eating all these calcium leeches, which is robbing the calcium from our body, you know. So we had to stop those kind of food. So after stopping that, then the calcium is already retained because used as a buffer. So therefore, what I did in my family also, that I did for calcium at all. What I realized, see, my job is that whenever I feel hungry, I must eat. So I must eat whole food, and it should be a plant. That's all. See, what I tell to my people, you know, see, nutrition, health science is not at all a rocket science. It's a common sense science. Just you have to provide a right food to your body, which is suitable to your blood chemistry. Why you want to depend on scientists and researchers and doctors, and you are all the time running and taking care of your nutrition and diet and everything. So nutrition is not such big issue, I'm telling you. It's just a simple common sense. So what I did, so if a person living on fruits, nuts and salads and sprouts, raw food, you know, and little whole grain, I challenge one that calcium will become impossible problem for them because there is no any leacher, there is no robber inside, you know. So calcium is already retained inside. So therefore, calcium one must not take artificial also from the what's called as a supplement, that because that also harms in later stage. See, as a medicine or as a temporary relief, people can take anything, but as a regular, this is not good actually. What I suggest from my side.
Thank you all. As you know, those are two topics that always come up when people think of following or even looking, are the issues of calcium. And of course, that's a big one that comes up, that people often feel like, where am I going to get my calcium from if you take away my dairy, right? That's a big one, and you all both addressed that. For the next question, where do you see the future of nutrition? Where do you see things going? Dr. Campbell, Dr. Sharma, where do we need more research? Where do we need to equip people? What are the next steps? How do we help to promote change that we obviously know is much needed to combat this disease that we face and chronic illness?
I would say that number one, doctors need to be trained in nutrition. They have to understand what is this topic. They are not trained. Doctors, at least in the Western model, doctors are primarily trained to use drugs. And so they are not taught nutrition because nutrition is the opposite. Nope, that's number one. Number two, doctors also, at least for the United States, they need to be compensated. They need to be reimbursed for their services at a rate that is, equivalent. They have to make a living. So they have to be able to be paid, for their services when they're actually teaching this kind of information. And number three, and I spent 20 years very intensively involved in national policy development in the United States. Number three, we have to change the way the authorities are talking about nutrition to the public, the way we develop dietary guidelines, for example, or the way we determine the amount of nutrients that are being consumed. Those kind of issues are really quite important. And unfortunately, the authorities in the United States, I speak in the United States, but this is also true with a lot of other countries too. The authorities are representing the industry. They're not, and so the industry wants to sell products. They want to sell animal products. They want to sell drugs. Therefore, the public is getting bad information. So we have to figure out a way for the national authorities to understand this problem and recognize what it can do. So it's in a sense, it's just changing the public discussion
Mhm.
of this whole question. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Dr. Sharma?
Yes, yes. Arti, I'm really thankful to Corona because the time Corona has changed the lifestyle of the whole world. I'm telling you, because I have never seen that people are buying so much fruit, so much salads, and people are going for so much juices and coconut water. In India, especially, I'm telling you, I don't know about the outside. People started realizing that community is the biggest factor, and we have to care, otherwise we will be suffering. So what I am seeing that around my mother, the whole Indian society, what I am finding, the eating
Dr.
juices, and they have stopped eating onions. They don't want to make their body toxic. So I feel that things that happen, people are now accustomed to lot of natural fruits and salads. So that will
Dr. Sharma, you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, yes, you're here, Dr. Campbell. I think he had an internet freeze. Dr. Sharma, I think we lost you for a second. Dr. Campbell, in the meantime, can you, while Dr. Sharma is getting his internet back? Oh, yes, oh yes, yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay, I'm here.
Dr. Sharma, can you hear us? No, I think your screen is frozen. Okay, when you're able to get on, we'll
As Dr. Campbell said that we have to teach nutrition from the school actually. But the problem is that the businessman has entered so much into our life that everything he's made already processed. All the junk food and processed food has already entered in our children and our family. So I don't know that even in India we have a processing food industry ministry. We have a ministry for processing food industry. So you just
Dr. Sharma, I think we lost you again.
becoming sick because government itself is not having such kind of knowledge. So all these things should be stopped actually. We all must know that we have to go for wholesome food. So from the school itself, it should be taught properly. And but what I have found that the medical world will never help us. See, the government will not help us so much. See, even Ayurveda, being the Indian wisdom, they don't support even the Ayurveda so strongly. Then how can we assume that the natural nutrition they will support much better? Only so therefore, what I feel, that individually we have to organize lot of camps and all these seminars and webinars, and we have to make the people only aware. See, in India, in spite of having medical facilities, our 50% of our population in India, they love to follow Ayurveda. They love, because we have that roots actually in India. So what I feel, that only people should be made aware. So what I'm doing, see, now as I told you that on behalf of Reiki Healing Foundation, when I teach Reiki, I always talk about the energy. So when I talk about the energy, then I talk of the energy of the food even, because if there is an energy-less food, then it is a dead food. So what is the use of eating those kind of food? So therefore, people understand this, my what's called logic. and then they also start following a lot of raw food in their life. So only thing is that we have to make the people aware, because I don't know that all the media and government and medical fraternity and how much they will be supporting this. I'm not very much optimistic about this actually,
So
because business is too much inside here.
So you two are reminding me of the topic that comes to hand, that is health in our hands. Like you are reminding me of the idea of empowering individuals, our family, and our communities to really realize how can we take back health in our hands the way it was designed. You know, Hippocrates is one of my favorite, that quote, right? Of just let food be thy medicine. And that's exactly what you all are reminding everyone of when we have this conversation. Okay, to end it with today, can you all just give some final thoughts on what you'd like to leave our audience with from our topic about whole-based nutrition and plant-based lifestyle? Dr. Campbell?
Yeah, I think I want to say one thing.
Yes.
We could talk about the details and argue about the details. If we talk too much about the details, we argue because everybody has their favorite detail. I would say, let's not forget the fact that it's the whole food, with everything working together with exercise, mindfulness, and so forth. That creates a lifestyle. So we can't forget the big picture by focusing on the little details all the time. We have to understand the big picture, the whole food. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Dr. Sharma, what would you like to say to our audience before we end?
Yeah. See, I always place the food as a secondary. I always place the mind in the primary, because you must learn the art of living very joyfully, celebrating every moment of your life by coming out of all your stress and fears and egos. So then your body remains relaxed and you become innocent like a child and you enjoy everything in your life, and then have maximum of God-made food instead of man-made food. So because God-made food will always give you health, and the man-made food will always give you disease. So therefore, nutrition is not a very big science. You have to eat by hunger. You have to have a simple combination, and then you must have a maximum raw, not 100% raw, because I never advise extremism, because now the cooking has become an art. So enjoy cooking also, but in lesser way. Don't spend much time in the kitchen, because you are unnecessarily wasting your time and your nutrition also. So better what God has already given to you, enjoy this, and then have maximum energy and bring out the maximum of your potential also. Because if you engage yourself all the time eating and in the kitchen, then you will not bring out your maximum. So therefore, so life is so easy. And whenever you eat, whenever I eat my raw food, know what I feel, oh my God, I'm living like a king in this universe, So whenever I feed fruits and nuts, I feel I am like a king, because even king does not eat this kind of food, because they always the more richer people, the more junk food they eat actually. So therefore, I always feel like king whenever I eat this kind of food. So have this pleasure and what's the gratitude for the God for providing such a nice food. So this is what I advise everyone. And as Dr. Campbell said, that all other factors also, like environmental energy, exercises and rest and family and society and everything we need actually for love and compassion, everything. So this all together actually it becomes health. So definitely, Aarti, as you told, that health is in our hand. See, the health actually is our hand, because we make choices every moment to moment. So if you are not conscious of your choices, then you have to suffer in the future. So you become conscious and choose the better for your health. This is what I advise to everyone. So thank you very much having a company with all Dr. Campbell and yourself. So very nice to be here with you.
Yes. Thank you all for the perspective from each one of our countries, but also the understanding that this conversation needs to continue to happen in our communities, in our families, in our homes. And for those of you who are looking for further information, Dr. Campbell has the website with the www.nutritionalstudies.org, and Dr. Sharma can be found at www.reikihealingfoundation.net. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Light Up Your Life. Thank you.
Thank you.